Well, I'm Bill Anderson. Welcome back to another live stream. This time it's not going to be exactly from around Mikas because we have joining us, well, not quite for the first time, Lisa. Hi,
Hello.
Lisa. How are you doing?
Hello. Hi, Bill. How are you?
I am very well. I'm very well. And we're kind of expanding the sort of live stream a little bit, but by having you joining us, Lisa, because rather than just focusing everything on Mikas, we're going to be talking about,
Yeah.
and we just thought that this might be a nice addition to our very sort of narrow Mika stuff. So, Lisa, first of all, to tell us why you're deciding to do this. We're going to talk about what it's all about and how people can get involved. You start in the place that's best for you.
Yeah. No, thanks, Bill. Well, it's an exciting new project for me, definitely. We're going to have Costa del Sol Chatter is already a Facebook group, which I've built slowly over the past couple of years. And now I've decided to expand it into doing top news on the Costa del Sol every
Right.
week. I'll be doing interviews with very high-end politicians that I know on the Costa del Sol.
I can't think who that could possibly be.
I'll be doing a variety of interviews with both eminent people and ordinary people about their lives on the Costa del Sol on the varying subjects.
Right.
I'll also be offering advice to some viewers, but don't blame me if you take it. I'm joking. I'll be doing a lot of interesting things, and it will be specifically Costa del Sol.
Right.
For instance, I will be doing things like we just talked about this a sex survey. How much sex are we all having on the Costa del Sol? Um,
All right,
interest.
does that have to be with the person that you live with?
You know what? If you're anonymous, you can say whatever you want. I mean, obviously I'm going to be discreet. It's going to be anonymous, but
I
not
might say,
enough.
how do we?
Poor Michael Bass has just said he's not getting enough. We'll have to see about that. Then we can also talk about how you can get more.
All right, okay.
Anyway, that's the lighter part of what I do, but I'll also be interviewing people about a lot of serious issues. Particularly, we were just speaking about the terribly sad case of Victoria Jenkins.
Sure, sure.
So you might fill us in, Bill, on exactly.
Oh, yeah, it's a very complicated situation, and
Yeah.
it's to do really with the fact that in Spain, and this is not just a Mijas thing, but in Spain, local authorities can apply to the courts to auction a property, and it didn't doesn't have to be a house. It may be a piece
Hmm.
of land or whatever. If over a certain period of time or up to a certain amount, the local taxes are not paid. And in Victoria's case, it's been a very complex situation with an estranged husband, property being in his name, possibly some problems with mail arriving, and unfortunately, the house was auctioned and she was evicted with her, I think, 13-year-old son from the house. So it's a very sad
Yeah.
case.
An
Um,
exceptionally sad sort of story, and one of these awful stories that you don't like to hear on the Costa del Sol. I mean, I was reading about it, and there's a considerable difference. I mean, the house's value was
yeah.
320,000, is my understanding, and it was auctioned for, I believe, and I could be corrected, 25,000.
Well, I think I've read 28,000 somewhere or
Okay,
30,000, and
it's in the mid to late 20s anyway,
yeah,
just
yeah.
in a
I
flash.
mean, a tenth of the price, whichever way you look at it, and
Yeah.
that as the local politician, there's really very little I can do about this because this is not a political process; it's an administrative process. This is started and worked through by the civil servants in whatever department, whether it's the tax department or the urbanism, it might be tax department, I suppose. And there's not really any way for us to interfere in that process because it's not a political process. It's part of their job. And I think that she has appealed, but the appeal was turned down. So she is taking it further, and I understand that they're going to make an application to the Supreme Court in Madrid. The problem is that takes usually a very long time. It can take a year to 18 months before
Right.
the court even look at it and decide whether or not that they're going to take it on, and then another 2 to 3 years possibly before some kind of announcement is made. So, this even taking it to the Supreme Court, and even supposing she wins, supposing something has gone wrong and something's
Mm.
been done incorrectly down here, it's still going to be several years before she reaches that point. So, yeah.
Well, for those of you who are dubious, and she certainly has my sympathy, I also did read, examine kind of what happened. Apparently, she didn't receive any paperwork, which is very sad. But then I was advised by my partner, who is a lawyer here in Fuengirola,
Hmm.
regarding this. And the problem here is actually the house was in her husband's name, and he did a run-on,
Yeah.
which is so
Yeah.
unfortunate for her.
Yes.
And also, it seems, and I would have to obviously speak with Victoria, it seems that she probably didn't have any very good legal representation or any at all, because
Um,
this is really a miscarriage of justice. And certainly the administrator who hounded this poor woman is very negligent. I feel
yeah.
extremely sorry for this woman.
I'm in contact most days with Victoria. There's not a great deal I can do, and but yeah, it's whatever way you look at it, a combination of circumstances, the house not being in her name, possibly not receiving the
Yeah.
notifications, and really the first that she knew about it was when they came to evict her from the house. So for anyone, someone turns up at your door and said, out you go.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
Incredible.
you're being evicted. We don't need to be in that situation to be able to imagine what kind of impact something like that would have on us.
Yeah. I mean,
Hi, Peter.
oh, we've just got a hello from our friend Peter Hogg, very much loved friend of mine. Yeah, no, it is a terrible situation, and the sort of situation that seems to occur quite a lot on the Costa del Sol with legal issues. I mean, we've heard these stories before, but
Yeah.
my heart does go out to Victoria in this instance.
Absolutely. And Debbie has just made a comment. This works both ways. She has a friend who has had an embargo put on the property, so it can't be sold until the law costs can be heard. But the case takes years to be settled. And I have known people who, for various reasons, have had embargoes on either a property or a car or
Yeah,
I don't know. And yeah, I think this is the problem that you know. I had a friend that they've gone back to the UK some time ago, but they had some money, I think, owing to Hacienda, and they were quite clear. Yep, it wasn't paid because we didn't have it. And he said, "Well, what I'm going to do is sell the car and use that money to pay Hacienda." But then Hacienda put an embargo on the car, so he couldn't sell it until the money had been paid. And
see,
these are complicated situations. It's chicken and egg. How do you sort one without the other? And yeah,
well, it's catch-22, which is
yeah,
another word for that, and so
yeah.
you're almost completely stuck. But I do have to tell you a story I did pick up today that
Go on.
I thought, poor Victoria, but on the other hand, and this was actually in Spain, in Asturias, an employee was reinstated by a court for being late 176 times in 5 months. So she actually got her job back. So on the opposite side,
Yeah,
wow, is all I can say.
but there can't be many more days than 171 in 5 month working days. It must have been she must have been late every day.
I mean, that's in 5 months. Yes. So if you actually count it out, I mean, how many working days are there in 5 months?
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those stories that the mind boggles. But to give
Indeed.
the other side from the judge who reinstated her, they didn't actually. Her employer had let her do this consistently. Yeah.
Right.
And hadn't really properly warned her. She was, she wasn't just like 2 minutes late. She was consistently like 8 minutes late. So I think,
Right. Yeah. And, and,
wow.
and that's not very good if you're opening a shop or something, or a restaurant, or if you're waiting to change shift with someone. It's not very great.
Anyway, I thought that might cheer us all up. But yeah, the other thing I was going to talk to you about was the tribute, which you can tell us about, that we're both part of. It's going to be
Oh yes.
interesting.
This is a lot of people will be interested just that this is happening, Lisa. I know it's not a sort of free for all, or whatever. That it is by invitation, but a tribute has been organised in Marbella on the 4th of November,
Mm-hmm.
um, for the fire services and the security services. So you're very much involved in pulling this all together, Lisa, aren't you?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, actually, yeah, I mean, it's Mark and Penny Quinlan who own the Irish, they're Irish, that own the harbour bar and restaurant in Marbella, which
right,
has beautiful views over Marbella port, and they've kindly invited up to 100 plus fire and police services personnel
right,
from Mi House, Marbella, Estepona, and Fuengirola,
right,
um, which is going to be just such a fantastic evening. They're going to be treated to drinks, dinner, and entertainment. And it's
right.
really sort of a pat on the back for the tremendous work they've achieved, particularly this summer, which has been, I mean, an incredible effort. I mean, I've seen myself in Fuengirola, all the planes flying back and forth, all the amount of work. So it's really nice to see somebody, actually appreciate what they
Yeah.
do.
I got a
Yeah.
question from Peter here. Was that the same thing as last year? I don't know if this was done
Yeah.
last year, was it?
No, it wasn't. Unfortunately, COVID struck. I have previously organised the fire and police services
Ah, right, okay.
tribute, and that was a great success. But funny, this year there's very few people, including like various dignitaries and press, who are saying no. So I think it's going to be
Yeah.
really good.
But I think, there's not very much we can do for these men and women that have
No.
worked so hard over the summer. I mean, I know I've had two fires. Well, actually, yeah, two fires no more than 200 meters away from my house this summer.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
the job that they do, is fantastic. The professionalism that they operate under is incredible. And
Hmm.
I know it's a token, you can't invite all of them because some of them have to still work, but,
Yeah.
it's I think just an acknowledgement for all of them,
Exactly.
how much the work that they do and the way they do it, is
Yes.
really appreciated.
Yes. Well, I mean, just to confirm, it has been divided up equally, as equally as possible, to have exactly the same amount from each area
From
where
each area,
possible, and
yeah.
then obviously their bosses. But there's nobody given preferential
Sure,
treatment,
sure.
except for obviously like the TV people that are obviously coming,
Mhm.
which will honour what they've achieved.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it's important to say, people may not know this, but yeah, there've been fires in Estepona, fires in Marbella, fires in Mijas, probably no fires directly in Fuengirola, but actually when these fires are big, fire officers from other municipalities go in to work. So you may have found that when we had the fire in the Sierra de Mijas, that there were fire officers, yes, from Mijas, also from Fuengirola, and maybe from Marbella and Estepona coming over to help with that, so that they don't just work in their own area. When there's a
yeah,
big fire in a neighborhood municipality, they go over and help out there. So that, they really are working hard during the summer.
yeah. So that's a positive thing.
Yeah. So, what else are you thinking about, Lisa, with your Costa del Sol chatter?
Well, it's
Apart
kind
from the tech survey, that's going to be interesting.
Oh, well, people, I have to wake people up, we can't always talk about politics,
I know, I know.
there's more
So
to life than politics,
what
Bill.
are tell me about it. I'm still looking for it. What what
Well,
what what other things are you going to pull in here then, Lisa? It's not just about
no, I
politics.
mean, like for instance, I've had quite a well-publicized battle with cancer.
Yeah,
My show isn't going to be all about cancer. But for instance, one of my interviews is going to be with a lovely lady who has had cancer several times and is
right,
now in treatment um, in Malaga Hospital, but has actually refused chemical treatment and is
right.
basing her treatment on eating a nutritious diet. And they're actually following her
Mm,
in Malaga Hospital to see how she compares to
right.
giving people chemicals like
Yeah,
chemotherapy and things that I've been through. So
sure.
that's going to be exceptionally interesting. And I have people from all walks of life coming on. And one of my favorite people, actually, who is a presenter on your show, is Anne Hernandez. So I'm definitely getting her on because her
Ah,
and I had a fandango over Brexit a couple of years back. So
yeah,
that's something that is definitely going to be a subject matter for how much it's really affected us. All the things that we were warning about many years ago are happening now.
yeah, sure,
But,
sure.
it can be other people, businesses who are trying to, start up in business, established businesses, and I think the advice part I'm going to really enjoy because I've started my own business here and I've had many ups and downs and failures and successes in my life, and kind of overall I've had a very, I think Peter will actually agree, Peter Hogg, a very interesting life. So I do hope that in some way I can help people who are a little bit in a tangle. So in
Right.
some way here, I know you always do that, Bill. You're always you were fantastic during the COVID. I mean, I literally just relied on you for all my COVID information, really.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I had to do that at that time, Lisa, because there was so much fake information floating around the social networks, and I was finding myself having to, people saying, "I've read this. Is this true?" And I'm thinking,
Yeah,
"No, it's not true."
yeah.
And
And this,
I was getting 100 messages a day. Is this true? Is that true? Is that because I've read it on Facebook or I've read it somewhere else? That was
yeah,
why I started doing the videos, to be honest. It's like I need to cut down my workload here some way. So I need to give the information straight from the
yeah.
official sources, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of evolving for you, really, Bill. That was really such an interesting part of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah, covering COVID. But with Costa del Sol Chatter, the ethos behind it is that having lived here for 6 years, I know several trusted professionals that I
sure.
know that, because I'm sorry to say, but, and I think everybody who lives here, would agree, but there are so many scam artists on the coast, and they leave
Yeah.
wherever, whether it be
Mm.
Ireland, Britain, wherever, as window fitters and arrive on the plane as master builders. And
Yes.
I'm not picking on the building industry here, but I do think I'm building a team of very
Yeah.
trusted professionals around me that can be relied upon to help in situations. So
Yeah.
that will be
And
also a part of what I'm doing.
yeah, I mean, what I've also done from time to time, Lisa, and this is probably something that a gap that you can fill, that, so I don't have to do it, is,
Mhm.
when there have been topics around, for example, I don't know, solar energy, or some particular legal thing, or to do with wills or whatever. We've done sort of, I usually call them live stream specials, because they're not really around Mikas, but it's just information on topics that are relevant at that time.
Yeah.
And that would be great if that's the kind of thing also that you could pick
Oh
up
yeah.
on. Because there are a lot of, the other scam artists around, and you get them everywhere, I think, in places like the Costa del Sol sometimes attract them. But there are also some very solid people around with great
Yeah.
knowledge bases, and a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and actually very willing to share that as well. And I
Yeah.
think it's great if from time to time, if there are big things around, if these are the kind of things that you could pick up on the Costa del Sol chatter.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this area, and it's now my home. And I just wrote an article about Spain in general, and as we were talking about sad Victoria Jenkins case, but there are positives and negatives to living here.
Yeah.
One of them being bureaucracy and lateness. But yeah, and you know who I'm talking about. No, but clearly, um, clearly everything, like the cost of living, the sunshine, the food, the beauty, beautiful scenery, this is, and particularly
Yeah.
Andalusia is such an incredible area. There's an awful
Right.
lot to balance with. And I see Debbie
Absolutely.
there is saying, yeah, correct information. This is the key. I completely agree with Debbie there,
Yeah.
because on Facebook, people can just put up whatever they like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and let's be honest. If you put out whatever you like on certain topics, you get put into Facebook jail, and
Oh,
but
yeah.
and if you put it up on other things, they just don't care.
Yes, I heard a rumor that you got put in Facebook jail, Bill.
I
Is
did.
that true? Can you confirm or deny?
I think I might have spent 3 days in Facebook jail.
3 days.
Yes.
Wow.
In
What Facebook crime did you commit?
Well, I can't remember, to be honest, because I've had a few warnings, and and honestly, one of the warnings on a page that I'm admin on was such a stupid thing. So someone posted a quote from Winston Churchill about
Yeah.
such and such, and Facebook said, it had been fact checked, and that it is not believed that Winston Churchill ever actually said this. Please remove the post, or you go back to jail, sort of thing. And I'm thinking, oh, this is silly.
Wow. Yeah. I had a very weird thing happen to me with Facebook, and actually it's to do with Jeffrey Archer. I was working in TV in Ireland, and I was in the makeup room, and I met him, started chatting because I'd read all his books. He was a very, very debonair chap, I would say. We had a great chat, and I took a photo of the two of us, you know,
Yeah,
posted on my Facebook saying, "Wow," because everyone's read what not a penny more, not a penny less, for everyone the first,
sure.
and his PR team managed to hack into my Facebook and take the photo down. Without,
So,
how
I
do you
mean,
do that? I just want to know. Yeah, because
I
there's a
have
few
no,
posts I'd like to remove off that go up that I see on Facebook that I know are entirely not true.
his image is probably copyrighted or something, you know, that I don't know.
God knows. Yeah, or his wife has just had it with all his affairs now. Probably gonna get sued now.
Right, right. You know, the wonderful thing about not having TV and things is I completely lose track of people.
Oh yeah, do you?
And you know, people will say to me, you know, it was so sad about, I don't know, some actor from Coronation Street who died 5 years ago, and I'm thinking I don't even know remember who they were, and I didn't know they died 5 years ago. You know, it's
Do
like
you do you never watch TV? Not ever.
no, we have the capacity to watch films, you know,
Right,
like through Prime and things like that.
right.
And some television series, but we don't actually have anything connected to watch a TV. We don't have IPTV or anything like that. So no, we never
So where
watch
do you
TV.
get your news from?
Oh, the news pours in from every crack, and it's like you go onto YouTube, you go onto Facebook, onto Telegram, and there's news hitting you in the face everywhere, you know? So
Yeah.
it's at least, I mean, there are some sources that I might decide to actually listen to, and other sources I'm thinking, "Ah, I'm not interested," you know. So, at least this way, you have a little bit of choice about what you listen to in terms of news and what you really are not interested in.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting topic because where you get your news from actually should be somewhere that has a very balanced view. And this is where the problem with Facebook comes because any old sod can put their opinion. And of course, it's all freedom of speech and everything.
Yes.
There's no point writing something or talking about something unless you've actually researched it. Yeah.
No, that's right, and people state opinions as facts, you know? What they really mean to say is, "In my opinion," but they say,
Yes.
"No, the situation is that," and actually they're expressing opinions very often, but they express them in such a forceful way that it sounds
Mm.
as if they're stating facts, and very often these are not facts, and, you know, we've all suffered from this, you know? You talk to Anne about it, and Anne and I have cried
Oh,
over well, she doesn't drink, so, me over a glass of beer and her over a cup of tea, about dealing with, you know, the fallout from people
well,
basically publishing rubbish, you know?
she's had a terrible time.
Yeah,
I've, I know as our Remain campaign continued. I mean, I was like a typing frog on Facebook. I couldn't stop myself the whole time,
yeah,
like trying to correct you. I fell out with so many people, as in, Brexiteers mainly, God help
yeah,
them. With some of us are still friends now. We're
yeah.
kind of a little bit over it. And I think people kind of do want to get over it. I'm not over it, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Are there any stories? I mean, we've touched on the this house auction situation with Victoria. Are there any other stories around at the moment that you just want to share with us, Lisa, or is there nothing much happening at the moment?
No, there is. I think there seems to be a gen now. People might be bored with this, but we're all worried about our finances. Particularly
Right.
everybody is. Worldwide, we've got obviously a war in Ukraine, and gas and energy prices are going up, and I have read obviously that electricity bills are really rising here.
Sure.
And I just got mine the other day and it was exactly the same. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm curious to see if anyone else's electricity bills have gone up
I don't know.
or.
I haven't seen the last one, but I know our summer bills were higher than our winter bills.
Right.
And that's because we have a very cost-effective heating system in the house, so it doesn't really use much electricity at all. But all the way through the summer, we have fans. We don't actually have aircon, but we had fans running from sort of morning till night and during the night
Yeah.
in the bedroom, you know? So it
Yeah.
did bump it up, but not to a silly sum. I think it was 80 something euros. Um,
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that has really kind of niggled me, and you could make, oh, poor Debbie's electricity bill is double.
Yeah,
Okay, so I could
and
be completely wrong. Could be
we've got one from
completely.
Peter as well. He said his is more or less the same.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm getting very differing reports on that subject, but everybody's affected by that. So I would be interested to see if
Mhm.
that is actually true. I'm going to monitor my electricity bills, but I'll tell you one thing that has, yeah, and this is going to be controversial, but I would like your view on it. The Lacala Festival. Now, I was meant
Okay.
to go, and I'm all for having fun and enjoying, having a great party, and I love music. So,
Mm,
absolutely, I'm not being, this oldie who, has given up on dancing and having fun. However, I do have a problem with that amount of money, and again, this could be hearsay that it was millions that were spent on a number of years of contract to
mhm.
attract people to the festival when there's clearly many other things that the money can be put towards.
Yeah,
But I take a balanced view because it brings tourism to the area.
yeah.
But what's the quality of that tourism?
Well, I was kind of misunderstood when I said I wasn't in favor of the contract that had been set up, and
Mhm.
people took that to say I was against the concept. Well, the concept's not my thing, but there's a lot of things that are not my thing, you know?
Yeah,
But I accept them, and I accept that other people like them. I don't like ferias particularly. You know, when my first couple of years in Spain, the feria was a real novelty. Now it's just a pain, you know. I'm not into ferias, but I know that people do. I'm not really into big concerts, but I know that people are. So you know, I'm not against the principle, but there were millions spent on it. There's a commitment of 6 million over 5 years. That's the
yes, I mean,
first
that's
thing.
what I heard. I mean, has that absolutely been confirmed?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That has been confirmed.
I
But
wanted to make
there
sure that
were
we have.
all the other costs that have never been mentioned by our government team. There was the cost of preparing the site. That probably, our estimate is about 2 million to prepare the site. Okay, that's done now, so that won't have to be done again. But then there were the other costs, such as extra police overtime, ambulances, the shuttle buses, I don't know what else, but you know, these were all costs that were kind of hidden. Plus, you know, people thought that the proceeds from this concert would come into the coffers of Mijas, and they don't. You
No.
know, everything that was raised in terms of money from this concert went into the promoter's pocket. So we had all the costs, and the promoter had all the profits, and I personally don't think that's a fair deal for the people of Mijas who are going to be spending 1.2 million every year.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
what would you rather see it spent on?
Well, you know, the thing is, if the contract is in place, we haven't actually seen the contract, but we've been told the contract is in place. That you know, to break that contract would cost us even more than what the contract is worth. You know, or what the contract would cost us.
Can,
So we
can
have
I
to go
ask
ahead with
why?
it.
Can I ask why you uh, can't see the contract in advance? Am I missing something?
We don't get many papers in advance here, Lisa.
Right.
Um, and Peter is saying that he loved the concert, and I've spoken to Peter recently, and I know he had a great time. And actually, I have to say that people that I know who have been there said it was really well
Oh,
organized,
they said it.
and
Yeah, absolutely. They
I'm
said it
really
was
happy with
absolutely
that.
fab. Yeah.
I think there should be a better deal for me because, as you said, Lisa, it brought in tourism. But you know what? I know a lot of people who have, particularly food, restaurant cafes in
Mm,
La Cala, okay?
mm,
And a lot of them were preparing for a really busy weekend,
mm,
and they bought in extra supplies and did
mm,
extra things, you know, for takeaway food and all sorts of stuff, and they
mm.
said they got nothing out of it. And some
Yeah.
even said
Yeah.
that they were quieter than a normal, weekend. So I'm not sure. The mayor said it brought 20 million into Mijas. I'm not sure who got this 20 million because
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
seem to be the local businesses, and well, that's fact. That's what they're telling me.
I mean, who plucked that figure out of the sky and where did it come from?
That's another story. It's another story that I've kind of covered with Mario, but um, basically it has been plucked out of somewhere, and I'm not going to say where. Uh,
I was told you can swear on this show, you
Oh,
know.
you can do anything you like, yeah. Preserving my modesty, though.
Be, yeah, beware. No, but I mean, funny enough, because I had a restaurant here, I did ask around as well because I was curious, and the restaurateurs and bars told me that they did have an uptake, certain ones, but it was a low spend, so it wasn't a quality customer.
No,
Now,
okay.
so there you go. But you know, it's very it's easy for us to pontificate, but really proper service should be done in that sense, which I'm assuming
Yeah.
is not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, as Peter said, that he loved the concept, but he thinks the proceeds should have been split. I think
Yes, yes,
because they had all the money from the tickets. They had all the money from all of the food franchises, so, they would have to pay to be there. They were given the Ippodromo for camping, and the promoter actually got the money from any people who were camping there. I don't know what it cost a night. I don't think it was expensive, but everything that generated income went to the promoter, and all of the costs in setting it up were set by the Mijas taxpayers, and I don't see that as a good deal. And I'm not against the concert, even though it's not my thing. I'm not against it, but I would have liked to have seen, as Peter said, some kind of split at least.
yeah. I mean, just being devil's advocate here, though, you can't really measure the fact that the Caledony has was made, became a destination because of that. If you've got headliners like Liam Gallagher and the Arctic Monkeys,
Yeah, yeah,
like
I
it
agree.
does put the Caledony House on the map and make people come back and return. I mean, I'm sure the residents want that because they want to have their own little lovely beach community. But for
Sure.
Mijas as a whole, possibly not a bad thing. But
Yeah.
I always try and look at all sides of
Yeah, well, I mean, you're absolutely right, but there should have been some kind of study done. I think
I think so, yeah.
I think to actually demonstrate how it generated income for or how it promoted, because we've got a comment from Peter there. The promoter's tax bill would have been higher, and it's only the
Yeah.
first. Watch out next year. Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Peter's his background is in the music industry,
yes, I know.
so
Yeah,
his opinion is highly valuable, and I do agree. He does say it's only the first one, and watch out next year because
yeah, sure.
possibly it will bring in. Like you, I'm completely open to these ideas.
Yeah.
But I do know for your agenda, I mean, I assume you would like the money to be put into other things for the people that
Well,
live there. Yeah.
I I think when there are people complaining to me every day about things that are not getting done,
Yeah.
and whether it's a shortage of money or shortage of human resources, I don't always know. But I'd like to feel that charity begins at home, and we look after our residents, we look after our taxpayers, we look after the places where they live, we make them safe, we take the uh, Oh, I think we've got a comment from Victoria there. Yes, Victoria, we were just you can
Oh,
pick
hello.
this up
Yeah.
on Facebook or on YouTube, but we were talking about your situation, Victoria. Yeah,
Yes, and we were certainly sympathising, Victoria, with your situation, which is extremely sad. And
yeah,
my heart goes out to both you and your son.
yeah. So yeah, I would like to see I'd like to see the effects of the money being spent around Mikas and people feeling really happy.
What exactly would be your top three things?
Well, the three things are security, and I'm not necessarily, there are things to do with the gangs that come and pickpocket and whatever, but
Mm.
even security comes down for me as well, and people are struggling with the speed in the urbanization. Something needs to be done about that. People don't feel safe crossing the road because cars are using urbanizations as racetracks
Mm.
in lots of areas. It's not just one area of Mikas.
Mm.
Cleaning, well, we're told that the council has committed 100 million for cleaning for the next 10 years.
Just
100
like another
million.
figure plucked out of the sky.
I think that is going to be it's a real figure. It's been published.
Okay.
So, maybe that will be sorted. And the other thing I think that we need to do is sort out something with the beaches that get washed away every year and replaced every year. So I'm going to just pick up. Peter's asking how many millions are the council sitting on, even without gaining more from the festival. The thing is, at the moment, Peter, we don't know because we don't know how much they've been spending because they don't actually publish their accounts. So we're not sure how much exactly they are sitting on. And
Why are they allowed to get away with that, Bill?
I have no idea. I have
Have
no
you
idea.
questioned anybody?
They haven't actually submitted their accounts to the Accounts Commission since 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, just
Okay.
try do that with Hacienda.
I'm gonna.
There's a comment from Victoria. So, she said it's been awful. Please don't hesitate to include it in future discussions if possible. Yeah, well, Victoria, we were just, we were just picking up on some of the things that are around at the moment, and Lisa had said that she had come across your situation, so we were just sort of talking generally about it. But yeah, I mean, whatever happened and whatever mistakes may have been made,
Mm,
the reality, Victoria, is that I think everyone, feels for you and the situation that you and your son have ended up in or been put in.
an absolutely horror of a situation, really, and particularly as a mother myself, it would be
Yeah,
just nearly horrific to be
yeah,
instantly evicted like that. So yeah, I do wish you very well, Victoria, in your future endeavours to try and appeal that.
yeah. Okay, I've got a comment from Sarah. Everyone else's money. I'm not sure which bit that came in at that we were talking. Well, listen, Lisa, we don't actually have a time.
Oh
Uh,
yes,
and,
blimey,
and,
it's
and
moving.
yeah,
I haven't even looked at it. I've just been chatting away.
yeah. Sarah has also said that something has to be done about Victoria's situation, and I know, but Sarah, this is something I have learned in my years in Spain. We don't have the safety nets in Spain that we would expect, for example, in the UK. We don't have the level of social services here that we have in the UK. We don't have, for example, emergency council housing. As
Mm,
I worked in some of the big cities in Scotland and worked with women in very vulnerable situations, and there was always emergency council housing available to them. That
mm,
doesn't exist here. So the absence of these structures to support people when, well, this or other things happen. Um, this is a way, my wife is Spanish, and she said sometimes I don't want to grow old in Spain because she has seen the care that was put into my mother who lived on her own in Edinburgh through the social services, and they had a fantastic system, and things were set up really easily and really well. And she said, I don't know if I want to grow old in Spain, but because these things don't exist here, or certainly not in to the same extent, and this is the big problem. So yeah, something needs to be done. The problem is that, the safety nets for these kind of situations, and it might be that it was auctioned off, or it might be that people lose their home because the bank repossesses it. There can be different reasons for this sort of thing to happen, and the social services just don't have the
It's
they
just
don't
not
have
the
the
same.
resources. It doesn't happen in Spain.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and from Michael, thanks for your comment too, Michael. He's stunned at what's happened to Victoria, and hope that she can find a way through it some way.
I think
Okay, I'm going
Ginger.
to draw a line, Lisa, or we're going to be here all night. But it's been
Yes, we know it. We're two chatterers.
I
So
know, I
I'm
know.
gonna say hasta la vista, baby.
Lisa, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you who've been joining in the chats. It's been
Thank
really,
you.
it's been really active today. So, sorry, I'm just reading another comment that's just coming, and it's from Victoria. So I'm going to just put it up there. The very people who were supposed to look after my son's interests have instead seen it as a vulnerable situation, taken all the money and thrown the child on the streets. Yeah, what can we say? That's the reality of what's happened.
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you. Thanks to everyone
Thank
who's
you
been
very
joining in. Thanks for
thank
all the participation. And Lisa, we'll be back in 4 weeks,
Yes.
and you're going to have some good stories for us.
Yes, I will. I will. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Bill. It's been a
Thank,
pleasure.
thank you, Lisa. Thanks to
Bye-bye.
all of you. Have a great weekend when it comes, and we'll be back next week. And I think Anne is going to be joining me next week. Take care,
All right.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.